Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel here today. Today we're going to be continuing our Penguindrum journey with episodes 14 and 15. Excited to see what comes next with the Penguindrum here, of course. After a very confusing last week, I had some reassurance from the YouTube comments by way of... Button, thank you. By way of Lazy Joe. I was a little bit worried after last week. I was like, am I on a level here? Am I stupid? It turns out that I got the important stuff, at least according to Lazy Joe. The rest of it was just kind of extra. Not saying that it isn't important, not saying that it doesn't have meaning within it, not to say that it's not worthy of further examination. But for me, understanding the plot of the show, I got the good stuff. Either way, let's make a start here. You say you're confused, but you're mostly picking up on what the show is putting down. Stuff like Kenzan only mentioning a single child. Very important detail. That was one of the things that I was happy that I caught upon the rewatch, of course, as well as the link between Momoka and the penguin hat. As for the Mary and Three Lambs story, which was most of my confusion, let's say it's an unreliable narrator to a certain extent. Shoma is seeing his little sister die for like the third time already. It's pretty sucky, right? The word here we use is despondent, and I would agree. So you have to frame a lot of that discussion and its vagueness and that kind of thing through somebody that's literally going through a tragedy as it's occurring. And as we say here, it's a mix between a fairy tale, Prometheus, the original sin, the past actions of the Takakura family. The exact details of what the tree is and the goddess are may not have direct analogs per se. They can, and I'm not discouraging that level of analysis on it, but again, if I'm going to understand the show at least on a base level, it's not stuff that I need confuse myself with. Again, much more pertinently is this Momoka penguin hat stuff. That seems kind of oddly poignant, no? If we think about that in combination with kind of these scenes with Ringo and Himari eating at the table and sharing curry and whatnot, isn't that like she's this big sister that she never knew she's actually experiencing some semblance of family time with? That's something. If again, our correct interpretation there is that the hat is literally some form of Momoko, or there's some kind of connection there. However you interpret it, I think there is meaning to those initial interactions. And yes, now that we know the Takakura family connection to the 95 attacks or whatever the hell, putting the photo down, I remember noting that. It's like, why don't they want people to see who the parents are? Now that makes a lot of sense. The parents are known terrorists on public TV. Their faces were just like there. And again, as we learn later in the story, from that point, Ringo would have particular, I guess, problems with that, considering the connection to Momoka. The other one here is that Ringo's mum reacted to Shoma's last name, Takakura, thinking, no, it can't be them. It can't be. The coincidence would be too much. And now we see what she's kind of referring to there. And I'm a little bit sad I didn't get this one, the Scorpion Soul, which is kind of Sanatoshi's name for whatever the hell. He had like a red light inside of him. I think Himari / headdress Himari / goddess, whatever we want to call her. Kind of making note of that as well. Seems like a pretty important thing. This is a direct reference to Night on the Galactic Railroad. Would not be the first time the show has referenced this. It's referenced it a number of times. So essentially, the scorpion flees from a weasel and falls into a well it cannot get out of, Haibane Renmei style, if you know you know, lamenting the fact that its existence will no longer satiate anybody, basically. It's a worthless existence. The scorpion resigns itself to pray to God to at least let it be eaten so it can satiate somebody and have a use in its being. So again, it's a bit of an existential little thing, right? If I was to die a meaningless death, would I rather choose a different death that has purported meaning in it? Do I care? Am I dead? Either way, what's the point of having a meaning in your life? I guess it invalidates everything that you've done up to that point, if you take a certain perspective on it. It's an interesting one, and obviously we're applying that to Kanba, who is again willing to give up his life, maybe a low sense of self-esteem personally, to again help Himari in that regard. I think there's something there. Again, if we're going to go to the tried and true Ikuhara playbook, this is what else is this but a self-sacrifice? What else is this but a princely action in Kanba that is so very coded masculine? I think that's something. The the kind of internal desire there for him to self-sacrifice and win the day, I guess, regardless of anything else. If we're going to have a prince and a husband, we're going to have a princess and a bride. Himari has been coded as the Fate Bride or whatever the hell. Yeah, watching out for it, of course. And again, is that Himari in so much as Himari, or Himari in so much as Himari is wearing the headdress and the headdress attaches itself to Momoko, who was probably Sanetoshi's like real goal in all of this, because she has the same eyes. If we're talking literally now about having the same eyes, I think Sanetoshi and kind of Himari, when she gets possessed, the only ones that have these pink eyes. So pretty literal in that regard as well. With that, I guess we'll move on. Just a bit of housekeeping. There is a poll if you're a patron at the moment, so check that out at your leisure. It's linked in the Discord, in the polls channel. If you are not a patron and watching this publicly, that poll is already closed, unfortunately, but I did talk about it last week, I think, as well. Speaking of the patrons, if you wanted to be that 1 week ahead, as always, the patron is open to you. Just $6 a month, and you get those all the videos on the channel 1 week early. So whatever wins the poll, you'll get that on the channel. How cool does that sound? Many people have accessed the Patreon, such as Mickey Bebbers, Charles ++, Bananarama Hamadama-sama, Bobbin, Chirpa Ribby, Dapper Dwarf, Domebot, Ed, Fancy Question Mark, Flirt Nightingale, Fruit, Gloriana Tenebrae, Glyke, Greybeard, Gus N, Ika, Ice, Iria, Yako Yavanen, Jacob R, Joran, Kelvin, Clem, Nosta, Cot Begemot, Lick H, Lou, Master Detective, Mistake L. Chen, Molly Weinberger, Mr. Maniacs, Parnik, Pencil Sharp 333, Ragashingo, Ronlad B&K, Saint Lily, Sal, Sam1373, Skeleton, Fueco, Without a Net, Yuan Kai Shu, Yuki Ali, Zach, Akamansa, Binshi, Hans Peter, Marsh, Voodoo Chili, Ichu, Koichi Kaito, Matthew Bratcher, Need, and Rantiki. Thank you to everybody for giving me money and so forth. I enjoy the money. Let's dive in here. Quick recap. Himari has been revived for like the 4th or 5th or 7th time in the show. Kamba's in trouble in that regard. He's literally staking his entire existence on the line. I think it's even something beyond that, even something beyond just mere existence. Yeah, he's staking it all on this. That's the important part we should take from it. Shorma, he's happy that Himari's back, I guess. Ringo, a little bit melancholy and taking a step back, I guess you would say. Reconsidering a few things, as well as the Takakura connection to what happened to her sister. It'll be an interesting one to follow for her. It seems like she's gone through quite a bit of development over the course of the past couple of weeks. Natsume, still got no idea. She's being fucking strange over there with Mario the Great, of course. And apparently they're looking for the other half of the diary, and Sanetoshi has just informed her that he knows where it is. So watching for that. Is Yuri still going to be in the show? Is Tabuki still going to be in the show in a big way? What the hell is the child broiler? Which I love to say so very much. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know any of that. But yeah, let's dive back in here. I'm ready for a little bit of levity. So we'll see if the show gives us that in spades or continues to pile on the pain, we'll see. Either way, jumping in here, episode 14 of Penguindrum coming right up. Rightio, episode 14 of Penguindrum up, they're ready to go. 23 minutes and 41 seconds on this one, so sync up accordingly with your own copy. I have the DB file set, so get that one if you want the one that I have. And yeah, picture in picture in the description below, of course, as well. Rightio, let's give this thing a 3, 2, 1. Rightio, 3, 2, 1. Go. Yes. Oh. Okay. Great. And then the disco ball comes down. I love this shit. The bird's interesting. Is that a swan? I was ready for a musical number again. Okay, I mean, it's interesting that I just asked the question about what we're doing with Yuri, and then it seems like she's going to be a focus character this episode. Interesting. I'm imagining that that dialogue during that show will be a little bit more revelatory after we get the rest of the content. something about Galaxy, which we're watching for. Haven't seen a survival strategy sequence in a while either. Probably predicated on Himari being dead, but you know, just yeah, I was thinking about it then as I was looking at the bears because I'm still very much seeing like parents or a gendered split there between the bears and survival strategy, of course, and so much phallic imagery during that sequence. Yeah, interesting. These guys have a really good branding, the Penguin guys. They got shit everywhere. Review Starlight? Every time. Sleeping all alone? Oh. Oh. Oh no. Okay. I don't know. Not working for you? That's fine. So she's cheating. It's so dramatic. I love it. Your body's secret? What, that you sleep around? Or is there another body's secret that we need to know about? Oh my god. Love it. Oh, that looks cool. Okay. Something about rules? Fabulous Max? Yeah, don't obey the road rules. Fuck 'em. Okay. That sounds healthy. So dramatic. She's also cool as fuck. She's like whipping around. Very, like the background there. I was gonna say very Utena, because red car as well. Tabuki? Okay. I don't know. What happened? Were you in a red car searching for eternity? That doesn't sound like anybody we know. This looks like the first episode. Yeah, almost a reversal. Hmm? What a hater. What the hell? I guess his sister almost died again. Fair enough. Oh, okay, you're guilty about the whole thing. It's not. I get it, but it's not like that. No, like, I mean, Tabuki and Ringo had a scene last episode. They feel like they've kind of gotten over it. A little bit. Who else do you daisuki? Anybody? I get it, but he's being kind of dramatic. Damn. And they never spoke to each other again. No, but this is more interesting from the Shawma's perspective. He's very much not over it. Okay, you two are just still chilling. Amazing. Very bold, too. Interesting that you're contrasting that connection with the Ringo stuff. Kind of want to talk a little bit more about that, actually. Okay, so he's like the new doctor. Okay, so she constantly needs more juice. Gotcha. What? Okay. I mean, you implied it would be more than money. What? Ampules. Oh, those are what we're calling the bullet things. Gotcha. Oh. So you're just camped out at the hospital? The soundtrack's really good here. Both? How to properly throw away items? Okay. How is she talking? Oh, that woman. And of course, in this episode, looking at the other womanly character in the show. Gosh, I must crush her soon. Indeed. uh, Hop in, bitch. I'm gonna show you the end of the world. I want to see Yuri dancing on the bonnet of the car. I think that's a very simple perspective on it. Yes. What? What do you mean disappeared? Oh, girls' night out. Let's go! Alright, where we going, girls? Where we dropping? Holy fuck, they've multiplied. Ugh. Who are you crushing this time? All these freaks. The shady men in black. Okay. Official card collection. Instead have my cards. This is so stupid. Yeah. I see. It's got nerves of steel. Before you fall and become seal food, in reference to the penguin little anecdote we had before, right? What, your sister? Loves a Watakashi. Yeah. Correct. You kissed her on the mouth. I saw it. Power dynamics changed a lot. What's so bad about Natsume? Yeah, I don't really understand the whole trading card thing, but you know. Sister, you say? In more ways than one, I'm guessing. Okay, sea creatures on the wall. Hot springs. Take me to the Katabuki safe? Seems very cold. I agree. This is a good question. Well. Well. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Special. Significant. Okay. Oh, much like Tabuki. She taught me how to love myself. I agree. Yet a little metaphor about it, including a bike. Yeah, I'm wondering if you're feeling a little bit, inferior about the whole thing. But you're not Momika, you're you. Stop sniffing people. Odd. They're very good at ping pong. Yeah, but you were sleeping around there before. Oh, we were talking about that last week, The Wheel of Fate. It was the title of one of the episodes, even. Drugs. Okay. Whoa. Maybe I am Momika. Well, they're probably pretty cut up about the whole thing, if I'm honest. She's on the cans. Jesus. Settle down. What's the rope? I mean, that's not great, but Ringo's also kind of roofied her fair share of people as well. What is happening? Okay. Pick me, pick me. She was in love with Momika. Her name is Yuri now that I think about it too. That's a pretty obvious one. So again, that person she was talking about at the very start of the episode, that was Momika. Obviously, this isn't great. How old's Ringo? Like 16? Hmm. The red rope. This isn't great. Oh. We need a hero? And yeah, there's the reveal, of course, as well. So you were the one on the bike. And of course, now that makes sense considering your connection to Momoko. Gotcha. There we go. So here's my thing. Yuri was upstairs. She, like, rung the bell, excuse me. Getting pretty explicit here, chat. I want to mess you up. That's concerning. Thank you, the Princess of Lies. And then the same AD again. Yuri's voice? Maybe. Maybe not. This made a lot of pieces click into place. I was like, yeah, Chibuki and Yuri seem to love each other, broadly, but does she seem that into it? And also there was a massive mismatch in, like, he's a teacher, she's a whatever else. She's a superstar. I don't think this is the same song, actually. Never mind. Yeah, I don't think I've heard this. So that explains that. It explains the motorbike. It explains lots of stuff. The scene at the start of this episode with, like, oh, my first love is gone, I can never get it back. And again, all those implications through the episode. Her name being Yuri. Her being associated with Takarazuka Review. She likes girls, chat. Which is her prerogative. I like girls too. More concerning is that Ringo seems like she's being, you know, diddled, for lack of a better term. Concerning. I don't know where we're going to go with that. Oh. Yeah, interesting art. Thoroughly entertaining, interesting, and broadly concerning episode. We'll dive straight into episode 15. Why not? I think I have my work cut out for me with that first one, but maybe not quite as confusing as previous weeks, which also, it's nice. It's nice. And rightio, next episode up there ready to go. 23 minutes and 44 seconds on this one, so sync up accordingly with your own copy, DB file set, as well as the picture-in-picture in the description below. Let's give this thing a 3, 2, 1. Radio, 3, 2, 1, go. Chisel? Tower? The Tower of Babylon? New opening? New opening! Let's go! Very similar visually. Very similar visually. Song's banging, though. Oh, they're like rose petals. Cute. Okay, that seems like a soft confirmation that that girl that we're following around was Momoko in Sanatoshi's library. Don't remind me about the child broiler. I don't need that in my life. The angles there are really interesting. Heh. A real true meeting of the minds right there as well. Interesting. Oh, this is his fucking friend. Oh, wait, you're here? Why did he come along to the baths with his fuck-ass friend? That's so funny. She might be. A lot of things might be happening in that next room. Well, she was hurt by your words, yeah. Interesting, these episodes seem to couple together really well as well. I'm happy this keeps happening. Help, help, I need help. What? Yeah, I agree. What do you mean by messed up? Just straight up Utena, but anyway. There's the rope. That's explicit. Well, it'd be hard to see down there. Metamorphosis. Oh, he can't find... Oh, the frog got it first. Why is Yuri letting this happen too? That's very funny. But I think you're in the perfect location, actually. Oh, What an amazing scene. This is so good. Now you can't fuck that up. That one's too specific. Figure it out, son. Yeah. She's butt-ass naked. I mean, I need consent from you. The rest is fine. Well, and be of age. That one helps too, generally. Okay. That shot there was really good too. What? Daddy? Oh, same day. Not same day. What the fuck? Where the fuck are we? Okay, that was the chisel. Okay, I think okay, it was a metaphor, I think. Uh... What a terrible person. Okay. Damn. This guy sucks. Like that? What do you mean like that? I'm listening. Feels like I'm tasting something sour. Don't let Daddy do anything. I don't want Papa to do nothing. Nah, Papa needs a hobby. Yeah, just emotionally manipulate her. Just fuck her up real good. Alright, and here comes the abuse. Yeah, but the helicopter implies that it's a similar day to, or maybe not. I guess it isn't that same day, because we're about to meet, Momoko, right? Okay, why is her arm broken, chat? But Momoko chose me. There she is. Kirei. Wow. Wasn't there a scene in Utena where they drew portraits of each other? I remember that. It was in the movie, maybe. We do that quite a bit, no? Sounds a lot like Ringo. What we're doing in... Oh yeah, the swan. She was riding a swan before. Okay. Well, we all know the ugly duckling, right? It's... you gotta... No, don't take it as literally. Okay. Shattered with facts and logic. What a nice way to see the world, Momoko. Okay. Whoa. Okay. This guy fucking loves this statue. Or building. It's unclear. Yeah, she's really nice. A little blush there, too. No, I don't think I can trust you. I don't really care about somebody's motivation in being nice. They're a nice person. I don't know. Only trust me. This guy's a fucking freak. So when does Dad fucking die bad? See, it's subtle. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I gotcha. It's heartbreaking, actually. It's terrible. Never talk to me or my son ever again. Okay. See, now if I'm a teacher and I see a kid and she just keeps getting fucking injured and showing up to school, I'm making a few calls. I don't know. Yeah? Ugh. That sounds... Okay. So you already have the diary. Rabbit's interesting too. But that's only your perspective on it. Okay. Ooh. 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 Well, how will she even know? Is she going to be able to remember? Yeah, dude, knock those towers down. Quick, get onto the right subway. It's a long flashback. Yeah, most of the episode. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm gonna destroy the tower. It's time to murder. Yeah, nice mid-episode. Anyway. Oh. Oh, they're wearing the scarves. How did they get those? So how did that happen? Sanatoshi? Double it and give it to the next person. Yeah, it would have had to have been. That's a fun visual too. I am, because I know everything. That's an even vaguer answer, actually. I know one. I know one. Pick me. Well, fair enough for Kamba as well. He probably hates his fucking family. Considering they ruined everything, kinda. It's on my mind as the audience. Wouldn't it be easier for you if they weren't your family? Yeah, I was about to say Natsume's soon, right? It's me. Because I'm fucking rich. Stop psychoanalyzing me. The chisel in the soundtrack's really good. It's so good. Why the banana? Night vision goggles. Also, how did you shut off the moonlight? They're outside. It's fucking cool though. Yeah. I've stalked you quite thoroughly. She's like a spy. She's so cool. Anyway, the crazy so-and-so has the diary now. So that's no good. Bro got bored. She jumped out the windows. I mean, you saved Ringo though. I don't think I will. What? They showed the safe earlier too. Okay. Okay, and flashback again. Okay. It looked like Momika burnt herself or something. Okay. Tower changed, and Momoko burnt herself in the process. And where's Dad? Is Dad just dead now too? So, I'll let the scene play, but this opens a can of worms, right? Okay. Bruno Mars. After that incident? Okay. So you think you can do that with the diary? What the fuck? What's the fish? So the implication would, of course, be if Momoko, in changing fate and changing stuff like that, hurts herself in that process, then potentially, like, at least one of the attacks on the train that happened on that same day could have just been Momoko trying to reverse something, exploding or something, and inadvertently hurting a lot of people as well. And it just kind of gets lumped in with the same attacks. Something like that. Like, this day that we're thinking is of the responsibility of the Takakura family, and the death of Momoko specifically there, that's the one that's important to the plot. They could still do the terrorism, but Momoko specifically hurt herself in the process of changing something, and now we're living in that world unbeknownst to us. Thoughts? Feelings? Opinions? Maybe. Just a theory, just a thought. Again, if Momoko hurts herself in changing something, does she change something big enough to the point where she hurts herself to the point of dying? Did she sacrifice herself in doing something? I.e., if we bring Momoko back, by what we're implying by the very end of the episode, is that then going to reverse whatever she tried to fix in the first place, if that makes any sense? But yeah, no, big episodes. Big episodes for Yuri, for sure. I do like the reveal at the very end that again, this character that's so much associated with lying actually sold this lie to Natsume in a way, and still has her half of the diary. I just think that's really neat. I think the flashbacks are elucidating, I would say, and this thing's chock full of Utena references. So yeah, we'll dive back through here very shortly. And we're back, episodes 14 and 15 of Penguindrum, Mawaru Penguindrum, back in the books. What did I think? Largely very enjoyable, batshit insane, like most episodes of the show are. But yeah, little kind of nuggets of intrigue in there as well. And I'm very happy I watched these two episodes in tandem. I think they're meant to be almost viewed in tandem in a way. Again, kind of exploring a very similar character arc and a very similar kind of time at the kind of hot springs, I guess. It just, they link together really well in a way that I really liked. Again, I'm about to hit play here, and we're about to see this starting portion and reread the lyrics and that kind of thing, but the most notable thing here would be the swan, no? Considering our referencing of the ugly duckling motif a little bit later in the two-episode kind of chunk. Yeah, there were some really important revelations here, and rather than quote them all at you now, I feel like I should just jump into the episode and get cooking, I guess. Yeah, less confusing than last week too, which is nice, albeit, again, still pretty confusing and out there. And yeah, really developing Yuri as a character that I thought was going to maybe go by the wayside a little bit in the show. I felt like she had maybe potentially outlived her usefulness until we find out her connection to Momoko, of course. And then, again, Momoko seems like the connective tissue between everything here, seems like a vitally important character to basically everybody. So yeah, if you're best friends with Momoko, and even implied to be more than friends with Momoko, then yeah, I think that's pretty pertinent. That's important information that we should know. Either way, we'll jump in here. So as I kind of theorized, as soon as this scene happened and was kind of underwhelming in the moment, I'm like, okay, I'll watch whatever's going on here and there will be a ton here in this scene. And yes, there most certainly is. Yuri is performing on stage in The Tragedy of M, of course. Think about it, the tragedy of M, the tragedy of Momika, by which we're talking about a night of love that lasts forever, some kind of eternity in that potentially, with the galaxy as our pillow. Far-reaching, galaxy even, night of the galactic railroad, all that kind of connection there coming to the fore. We are two as one. Oh, let our love soar past the twinkling stars. With as many kisses as there are stars, together forever. Disco ball starts up. And yeah, we kind of go into a bit of a song and performance. Now, again, I feel like this all links into the stuff in the second episode we watched today about Yuri's family connection to artists and what artists have to do and if that's performative or if it's true and all that kind of stuff. What's a lie, what's truth, and all that kind of like Oshinoko type stuff, I guess. When does the lie become truth? When is the truth a lie? How best do we get the performance out of that? All sorts of stuff. There is an inherent lying and fakeness in this performance, right? Even to the point where you're sleeping with your co-star and they're still not kind of doing it for you. So again, you may even be on a level where you think it's real, that being the co-star, but no, it's a lie. It's a lie to both the audience and it's a lie to my co-star that I truly love them and appreciate their company and think that we're the special combined two forever ever. It's like, no, neither of those things are correct to the real Yuri. The other one I thought of in the moment, of course, is Tobuki's bird-watching type maneuver, right? If he's a bird-watching kind of guy, and we're coding Yuri as a swan, per se, does that mean, like, bird watchers don't keep birds, they just watch from a distance and then just kind of let them fly away and do whatever they're doing. You don't make a special connection with a bird through bird watching. That would be through owning a bird and caring for a bird and doing all this kind of stuff. I think that's very specific now too, kind of attaching that bird watching motif to Yuri. Of course, we have the ugly duckling type thing as well. For the uninitiated, there was the kind of runt of the litter, the ugly duckling per se, who got bullied for being ugly and then time passed and then they became a beautiful swan. It's essentially, well, you could take a lot of things out of it, but the essential moral is don't judge a book by its cover. Even if not from a purely aesthetic point of view, people that outwardly are perceived as ugly for whatever reason may have beautiful traits to them that only emerge through time and through investment within them. Yuri hates that kind of story. She hates the idea that I have to be ugly at some point in order to be beautiful. She doesn't believe that kind of the ends justify the means there, or if she even has the wherewithal to become beautiful. How does one become beautiful? If I'm being told from my only family figure in my life that I'm ugly for so very long, how am I ever going to have my swan moment, if not through the hands of Momika, right? Which again makes the whole tragedy of this situation come to the fore. I feel like I'm a perpetual ugly duckling. I need something that can change my fate, potentially, as well. And of course, the chisel type stuff there as well, like, I need to chisel these parts away from myself to get to the beauty. I need to, and again, you read between the lines there of what the chiseling's meant to be. Again, does this pain of the chiseling justify me becoming a beautiful sculpture, becoming a beautiful swan by the very end? Arguably no. Especially when Dad's doing the chiseling and he's never going to be satisfied because he's kind of coded as a bit of a misogynist, I think. Definitely, yeah, Mum became less beautiful after giving birth to you. It's like, what an odd thing to say. Yeah, anyway, I'm getting caught in the weeds too early. Again, what I meant to say is this scene here may seem simple at first, but it kind of links into everything that comes after it. Even talking about an eternal night right now, which again, we're going to be doing the eternal night by the very end of the episode, whereby we get Ringo in a room alone. We're going to tie her up in a red rope, that kind of red string of fate type thing as well. And yeah, we're going to have our way with her, and it's going to be eternal. It's going to be never-ending. All those kind of Utena-type ideas coming back through again. So what confused me here as well is they start talking about Istanbul, and I'm like, are they in Istanbul? But that's Tokyo Tower, no? So they're not in Istanbul. That confused me. Anyway, Tokyo Tower is important because I think there's some kind of implication between the big statue that was standing in town that one time before it got kind of deleted, and now the one other monument that stands in Tokyo. Like, it's kind of got that, like Tokyo Tower is by proxy associating with Momoko, right? Because of what happened with her changing fate and changing, I guess, the skyline of Tokyo in a way. And in the moment this came as a shock to me, I'm like, ooh, we got Yuri all alone in a bedroom. But oh no, there is somebody else there that is most certainly not Tabuki. So it's like, oh my god, she's cheating. And then that becomes like 8th on the list of the most scandalous things that happen in the episode, so, you know, I kind of got over it. This 2-episode chunk is also where I think we get the most explicit sexually in the show thus far, talking about moves satisfying women, and I think Ringo says that she's going to be turned inside out and a bunch of other things, which is like TMI. But yeah, just I didn't think the show would go there. I don't know. I must say, for a bit character, this character here is just hilarious. The I guess you would say the Lady Oscar type person. Just I love the overdramatic voice. I love the everything about it pretty much. It's just brilliant. It's brilliant, and yeah, befitting of like a one night fling type thing, I think. Oh, so that's clearly what we're getting into here as well. Your body's secret, right? If you don't sleep with me again, I'll tell everybody your body's secret. It's like, you really are pathetic to the core, and then drives away. Don't care, didn't ask. Plus your Lady Oscar. No, but that's clearly like she has scars, right? She would have scars from all the abuse that she took as a child. I think that's what we're getting at there, unless there's more to that kind of story. But yeah, again, would that be a big story that she was abused as a child? I guess she wouldn't want that out in the public. I guess that's fair enough. I'm trying to look at this number plate here, basically predicated on Utena that had a pun on the license plate. Like, I don't know. Yeah, weird. Anyway, the reason why I'm referencing Utena is this is a red shiny sports car, bit of more of a modern look than the one in Utena, but that red car is also very important to what that show's trying to get at. The car being this grand metaphor for a lot of things, but let's just say adolescence here in the moment, or adulthood, progression from adolescence into adulthood, I guess you would say. It is no accident that Yuri walks up and picks up Ringo out of this car and then proceeds to seduce her and kind of drug her and stuff. It's odd, but yeah. You should watch Revolutionary Girl Utena, where similar things do happen in the car, largely a metaphor for sex as well. Of course, the one driving the car in Utena was the bad guy. It was Akio, right? Again, bad guy's relative, but you know what I'm talking about. He wasn't a good guy, I'll tell you that. Yeah. Why is Yuri driving the car here and now? It's almost like the death of Momoko and kind of spiraling from that has made her make some villainous choices here and now in some moments. She also has these grand moments of clarity as well. I think kind of after fighting Natsume, finding her half of the diary in the safe again, and them just being like really normal to Shoma and like letting Ringo sleep. It's not like she's right back into being like evil. She has like moments of clarity, I guess. But yes, if you see somebody driving a red car in a Ikuhara directed show, probably steer clear. We have a little bit of a monologue here as she drives the car, kind of something like, I've grown smart and grown accustomed to the world and what needs to be done in certain spots, and that's helped me to be successful. No one will be allowed to touch me as they please again, obviously referencing the stuff with the father. So now applying that to Lady Oscar, saying, hey, you may try to do this and push me into these certain situations to abuse me, but no, I've seen the world a different way now because of Momoko. I will no longer be kind of held down by these chains. She's fundamentally changed the way that I look at the world, changed me as a person, very much akin to what Tabuki was talking about that Momoko did with him. Shoutouts to the gorgeous backgrounds here as well. It's a kind of really splotchy watercolor look. Loving the colors, of course, as well. Can't help but think of Review Starlight whenever I see this as well, but that's neither here nor there. And this kind of laneway with the kind of posts on either side is very Utena, now that I'm looking at it as well. But essentially, in the dialogue here, Yuri Yuri is saying that she's abandoned her past, but she's still longing for what happened there before with Ringo regardless, or with Momoko, excuse me. Yeah, kind of breaking down at the lie of it all, at the lie of everything being okay and hunky-dory now. I really miss you. I want to see you again. Of course, the audience at the time doesn't know who she's talking about, but it's clearly Momoko. They had a special connection. The only person that saw me as beautiful when I was ugly as well, you know, or perceived as ugly. She was like 8. I really don't have an opinion on how she looked. We're going to meet again, right? We had a promise that our bond would be eternal. And again, this shot here, I believe we end episode 15 on a pretty similar shot of Tokyo Tower and that kind of bond being sealed between, between Yuri and Momoko. Point being, I think Yuri sees a chance at reviving Momoko somehow using, we're going to call it the penguin drum, the diary. That goes straight into this scene with Ringo, but I should also reference the penguin drum here. We learn in this 2-episode chunk that the diary, we at least don't see it given to her. I think an implication that I had potentially was that she received that diary upon dying, and then that diary was given to Ringo, or to the family, I guess, and that was how the diary existed in the first place. No, Momoko had the diary when she was alive, implying that she got the diary from that library still, and saw Sanetoshi and all that kind of side of it. And again, much like many of the other characters in the show, Sanetoshi likewise is enamored by Momoko, wanting to grasp at something that he cannot attain. Again, the death of her and the disappearance of her and kind of denying this connection between those two, these people that have the same eyes or whatever, is his own little personal tragedy. Probably speaks to why he wants what he wants so much as well. This interaction here can't help but feel a little bit plot convenient, right? We need a break up between Shauma and Ringo right now to make the rest of the story in this 2-episode chunk make sense. So we're going to have Shauma act not out of character, but a little bit more extreme than I think the circumstances call for to get the characters in the right places. So let me explain. Ringo thinks it's all hunky-dory and they're all best mates again, wants to talk with Himari now that she's, better, at least a little bit better. She's still in hospital, but she's working it out, that kind of stuff. However, Shauma continues to feel guilty for his parents' actions, not being able to let go of the past and still living within it. Honestly, reflecting a little bit of Ringo back at her, somebody that couldn't let go of the past and was dragged down by family and whatnot. I feel so very guilty about what my parents did, specifically to you and to your most important person and to your family and everything that that represents, that I cannot even associate with you. I believe right now that you are lying to me in saying that everything's okay, right? Even though we know that she's not, because she had that heart-to-heart with Tabuki, where we found out that everything was pretty good. They were actually on pretty good terms with everything. Not even entertaining any level of forgiveness at all, just continuing to mope around and yeah, being a bit of a stick in the mud about the whole thing. A little bit convenient, but I don't mind it. Again, the characters just need to be in these positions. I probably don't talk enough about the background crowd character stuff. I think I've mentioned this before, but somebody told me that the characters only really have background designs when they're on train cars, kind of giving this real personal connection to the victims of this incident in universe, as well as the victims in real life. Like, again, so much of the kind of Murakami kind of account of the events was so much about focusing on the victims and as people, and I think the show kind of reflects that in its own way by giving them character designs here in the moment. I think that's pretty fun. But here, in a very Monogatari-esque way, it's only depicting the important characters, the ones that have that connection to Momoko and kind of the ripple out effects of that disaster as real people here. Again, everybody else that's surrounding us right now doesn't matter. They're just kind of generic people that would be seen kind of on subway signs as opposed to the actual people themselves. Much like another show that you may have heard of called Revolutionary Girl Utena, we're getting a little bit of characters reflecting each other here. So Shauma right now is under the impression that nobody would ever forgive them for what they've did. That's all he's known in his life up to this point, is not being forgiven and being judged accordingly to his past. Does this not remind you of Yuri and her backstory next episode, right? Where she has only ever known her own ugliness, and that being kind of reflected back at her through her father figure, right? That, again, that family connection being so very important to it. again, it takes a special person to knock them out of this state and tell them that everything's going to be okay and that they have value and all these other things. And I think it's very fun how the characters are reflecting each other on this fact. Ringo kind of needs to be as Momoko was to Yuri to Shoma, if that makes any sense, right? Needs to be this special person that convinces him that he has value and he deserves love, and the kind of actions of his parents don't define him, right? However, Ringo here in this moment is not strong enough, lets go of this tenuous connection that they do have, and again, the plot of the 2-episode arc then starts. Of course, I'm neglecting to mention the fact that Ringo has openly admitted in the show that she's in love with Shoma as well, so hearing the person that she loves so very much basically say we shouldn't talk anymore, it's akin to breaking up or something like that. Of course, she's going to feel pretty cut up about it. Yeah, really tragic look for Ringo here, of course, as well, kind of thinking that she's been kind of dense in this whole affair as well, in her casual interactions with Shoma hurting him, right? Even though he's only guilty about the fact that it hurts you, right? See how this is kind of weird? But I see what they're trying to do. I see the vision. Either way, we leave Ringo in a little bit of a crying mess over here, which is no good, before we go on to knitting with Himari, which she likes to do so very much. Very obviously color coding There's the wool here for either member of Double H. Love to get an ID on this flower over here as well, this purple number. Potentially it has some connection to the feelings that you may be feeling around Double D as well, or Double D. Double H, excuse me. As I've mentioned in the past, it is curious that she has two brothers that are largely associated with blue and red as well as colors, so see what I'm trying to say here? There's a little bit of a kind of connection maybe between her association with Double H and her association with her family. Potentially that exists, I don't know. So yeah, here we can kind of read between the lines a little bit on what's happening. Again, Himari has been outcast. Shoma basically says as much over here. His entire family has been outcast based on the actions of the parents. Himari wants to make scarves for these two, wants to be a part of their life, wants to continue to care for them. I think specifically even during their flashback, during that episode, there was something about a scarf as well. I felt like I saw that. But again, because of what happened with the family, they cannot make these connections anymore. Again, much like Shoma, previous scene. Based on what has happened, I don't think I'm even capable of making a connection again. And again, the tragedy here of her catching herself, of going, oh, no, they won't want this from me. If it comes from me, they won't want it anymore. It's not like it used to be. Things have changed. Cut to Sanetoshi being a bit of a cunt. We said that money wouldn't be enough, but it seems like money is enough up to this point. And it seems like we've got Himari hooked on whatever this drug is. It's the only thing that's like making her better per se. Also noticing that this is the same room that one doctor was in before. That doctor no longer in the show, kind of being replaced by Sanetoshi in a way, goes to show his control over fate and whatnot, I guess. So I keep saying money. It doesn't seem like it's money. It seems like he's paying him in like trading cards of naked women. What? I think that's trying to say something about the commodification of women by both Sanetoshi and Kanbo, that he can procure these and Sanetoshi is a buyer. I don't think it reads as a good thing for either of them. But also it's just strange. Why is this the payment? Is this the payment? No, but they still reference money though, so it isn't the currency, because money's money. But maybe this is how he's getting the money or something? I don't know, because they spill out later when Natsume sees him on the train. I think it's trying to say something, I think. I don't know. Or you're just a little bit pervy, which, again, we knew that. Okay, chat, let's put together a few things from the past. Now, with the assumptions that we do know. If this headdress is so very associated with Momoko, right? Then Momoko's after the penguin drum, which is the diary. Why does she want the diary so bad? Is it so that she can get rid of it? Or use it even after death to try to influence something again? Because it seems like she can use the diary to change fate. Is Sanetoshi after the same thing in essence? It doesn't seem like it, because he knows where the diary is and tells Natsume where that other half is as well. It seems like Himari / Momoko, when kind of the headdresses involved, is after the Penguindrum, but Sanetoshi couldn't care less. Is he already beyond that power? Can he just change other things regardless? But why does he covet Momoko so then? Why? I do not understand. Anyway, food for thought, I guess. Jump back in here and we have Himari sulking a little bit, right? She's thrown both of her scarves into the bin because she realizes that nobody has any use for it, right? My other two friends that are in Double H, they wouldn't want this from me. Again, I ruined their lives. I'm, this kind of person that they don't want to associate with anymore. It was a foolish errand to even try to make these. In that respect, I really like the soundtrack. We've got a little bit of a choir vocal going on. Kind of sounds reminiscent of Double H. It's kind of like they're singing, almost taunting Himari with her actions here. But the melody of the song's still sweet. I still think there's something there that unites them still, even regardless. Again, we must remember how close of friends they were. They were willing to kill a fish and cover each other's ass and do all that other kind of stuff before, again, that news changed everything. There's still a care to the vocal in the background, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Sanetoshi wears the scarves for a second for a goof. I don't know. The bunnies love it for whatever reason. Odd. But yeah, we see in the next episode Sanetoshi does get these scarves to Hibari and Hikari. That sounds correct. The other two members there of Double H. Fun little gag here on the magazine as well, how to throw things away properly, which is funny that you're reading a magazine for such a thing. Why? What an odd thing to do. So I was going to question mark why we have this scene of Natsume swimming. Natsume's trading. Natsume's seen some shit. She's did her research. She kind of knows where Yuri's going and knows where to target her, right? She's got this all worked out already. And that's why she's practicing swimming, because her getaway involves being a strong swimmer. When she says that she did her research, she wasn't lying. She most certainly has. And yeah, that's a really fun connection that you only see upon kind of the rewatch, I guess. Yeah, very, very cool. We'll see on the floor of the pool here as well, we've got this symbol that's largely associated with Natsume as well, this kind of sapling coming out of the ground. I think this is meant to imply that this is Natsume's personal pool, again, considering she's so very, very, very rich. Now, I want to go back and check something, and I might as well go back and check it now because I'm thinking about it. How did Yuri get from the top floor to the bottom floor to where she stole the fucking diary that quickly? Back in episode whatever it was, episode 8? That sounds right. That's pretty impressive from her. I'm just going to try to say that it's almost teleporting tier, which we like, because that's why I didn't initially go for Yuri, and that seems very convenient in the plotting now, right? Because many people can pause it and say, there's a woman on that motorcycle. There's only so many women that we even know in the show. I was waiting for another character to be revealed that it was going to be the entire time. I was keeping an eye out for a new woman because I already eliminated Yuri from my mind as a suspect. But again, in retrospect, that seems on purpose. Okay, I guess this makes sense. So she's down here in the lobby in episode 8 talking to Tabuki through the kind of... when you call somebody up to your apartment and you need to hit a button? I was under the impression that she was straight outside of the door, which makes... Again, they had this little conversation here for a minute before it all falls down. So if we can believe that the characters run down this stairwell, what's to say that Yuri couldn't run down in the same time as well and get on a motorcycle? So I guess that was short-sighted of me to eliminate her from the picture. But again, all of that becomes so very obvious when we learn of the connection between Momoko and Yuri later in episode 14. And as I keep saying with this show, it's just got jokes as well. Why is the Emperor Penguin over here in a one-piece swimsuit? Why? And we've also got this little sapling logo there again as well. It's just why? But it's funny. I like it. And we're just we're sipping cocktails on the beach as well. What a good frame. This is just immaculate. I love it. Also, fucking look at her. Fucking Kamba's an idiot. What's his fucking problem? I'd rather bone my sister. What? I want the rich girl that's obsessed with me that has, the good body. What's his problem? What was his problem? I don't know. Yeah. I can tell you what I'd be doing if I was in Kamba's position. That's all I'll say. Really fun connection here as well. We see two members of Double H on this magazine with the text, "You keep me waiting, get his attention by acting cute, But it's two girls. It's two girls on the front cover, embracing each other. You're taking this as a piece of love advice, a teen magazine, but you're taking the wrong lesson from it. You should be taking the lesson that Yuri is the way. And you know who's going to be good at showing you that Yuri is the way? Why? I'm going to say it's Yuri herself. Question, why does this say Natsume? Is that the name of her company? Or something? I don't know. I'd love a little sapling here or something to let me know. But yeah, but this is a fruity-ass magazine. On the front cover, again, you have two girls doing that, and then on the back cover, you have a sex pervert or something. Again, the other side of the coin, potentially, if you wanted to be that direct about it. Also, they're being very cute here. Spinning drum, washing machine, also spinning like the Wheel of Fate. You're just... There's just so much going on in the show constantly. She scrunches up this magazine, rejects it, and then, lo and behold, Yuri's just here in the big red car of destiny. Now, this car ride is a very, very interesting scene. It's multi-level for both of the characters involved here, but Yuri's obviously the one that sees a lot in it. So, one, we need to remember Yuri's ultimate goal here, which is to convince Ringo to once again be Momika, by which we can sleep together and everything will be hunky-dory and we can be together forever. That is the ultimate goal. That's what she's looking to do. But there's also a twinge of sadness to it. She sees a lot of herself in Ringo, right? Or her younger self in Ringo, I guess. Somebody that has lost this love, somebody that had this first love taken from them and had their heart broken as a result. You can read between the lines here and see that this was kind of Yuri's temperament, probably in the wake of Momika's death. Kind of devastated at the fact that she had died and they'll never get to love each other again. Again, first love rarely comes to fruition. Again, I know that more than anybody else. But again, my efforts here today are to bring that first love into fruition once again. As Yuri is talking about Momika but being kind of coy about it, this person, my first love that left me one day without telling me, we get this visual of the bird flying through the kind of afternoon sky. Very similar to Tabuki's vision in the past when he's talked about Momika. Again, largely associating her with the bird watching kind of thing. This bird flying off solitarily into the sky, never to be seen again, leaving us mere mortals here on the ground, unable to grasp at whatever ability she had that made her so very special, right? Forced to only birdwatch in our own minds as opposed to flying up there with her. Either way, Yuri shifts the gears. A fabulous Max girls' night out may be the best solution to kind of drown our perpetual sorrows and maybe get together in the very end as well, regardless. So again, I just think the editing here is really weird because you look down at your money in the envelope, right? And then at the same time, you're looking at sexy pictures of schoolgirls, right? Odd. But, like, it implies a connection between the two that I think you're just being a pervert and you covet porn in the same way that he covets money. Is that what we're talking about? Is there some kind of connection between whatever this represents and whatever you're trying to buy, Kanba? Which is weird too, considering it's your sister. Either way, Natsume walks in and starts shooting all the guys. So, okay, I kind of see what we're doing here. So, Penguin's currency is photos, right? Instead of you looking at all these photos over here of these people, why don't you solely look at photos of me instead, right? Like, I can replace all those dirty photos that you have of schoolgirls with dirty photos of me. Wouldn't that be appealing to you? Kamba's Penguin doesn't agree, would rather have the other photos. In that same way, hey, Kamba, why do you keep taking the shady money from all these guys, shady loans and all that kind of thing? You know me, I'm Natsume. I have like $1 trillion bajillion dollars. Why don't you want any of my money? Specifically because it's your money. I don't want your pictures either. You know, there's that same connection there, right? I'd rather be indebted to criminals than be indebted to you. That's how much I don't want to be with you right here, right now. Because again, on the surface level, this solves every problem, right? She has infinite money. Sanetoshi seems to want money for Himari. I could save Himari by doing whatever Natsume wants me to do. But again, that defeats the entire purpose, considering a romantic connection with Himari is the ultimate goal. Again, here, have these instead of those cards you had before. You'd much rather have these, no? Get into the actual characters here. Natsume bringing up this kind of penguin iceberg thing again, right? You're standing at the edge of the iceberg, one more step and you'll fall into the sea. Remember, nobody wants to be that first one that falls into the sea because the sea could be full of seals. You could just get torn up and die. Essentially, what we're trying to say here is that Kanba's playing with fire doing this, right? And if he plays with fire too much, he will burn. He will die, right? And because I like him so very much, I'd rather him not be dead. Instead, Natsume here offering her money instead. You should take my money. No. I'd rather go with the criminals, which again says something, I think. But the power dynamics shift completely in this scene upon missing the bullet and sweeping the legs here from Kanba. Our slogan this episode, it only takes one word for seeds of misconsent to spread like a wheel. I've got no clue at all what you're trying to say. Well, I know the Wheel of Fate connection there with the wheel, but I don't know. Again, trust nobody, I guess. Natsume then calls Kanba out. What about her is so special? Don't play dumb. I know what you're trying to do here. Kanba continues to play dumb. Who are you talking about? I just want to save my precious family. Again, remember this is an internalized belief from all the way back to that flashback, right? When the typhoon was in town. This is something that he's taken from his parents so very much that I need to be the one to protect them. So after being thoroughly thwarted here, Natsume says that she'll seize her happiness in her own way. Through saving Mario, apparently, it's unclear if this connection that she has with Mario is one of convenience or somebody that she genuinely does want to save. For me, Mario is a big fucking question mark. I don't know what's going on there, and I don't really want to look at these pictures for much longer either. Back over with Ringo and Yuri now on the form of entry into the kind of spa here, the resort. We write down Ringo's name as Ringo Toki Kage, something like that, whatever her last name was, right? So hey, Ringo, you're going to be posing as my little sister here while we're in this kind of place. Again, if the show didn't have enough incest in it already, we have some implied incest going on here. Obviously bringing up the sister connection here and the little sister connection here so that Ringo can roleplay as her own big sister in Momoko. Again, there's a grand irony to everything going on here, right? We thought that Yuri was one of these people standing in the way of Ringo becoming Momoko through Tabuki, when in actuality she just wanted her to become Momoko in a different way. Again, you can read between the lines on a lot of those scenes back in the day now and see that kind of cock-blocking stuff going on a little bit more like, hey, I'm cock-blocking so that you don't go to Tabuki instead of going to me. Like Ringo being the target the entire time is the point, and not letting her go to Tabuki. I think this shot here is very smart. We focus here on a safe only briefly. This safe will become important in the next episode, whereby this is where she's hiding her valuables. If that shot wasn't in the show, I would have felt like that came out of nowhere, the safe thing, I guess. So that was a fun connection. These two are now in the bath, and this is when Ringo starts asking some questions. How did you end up meeting Tabuki? Well, I was with him in elementary school, right? I met him when we were very young, we were childhood friends. And I put this together all very quickly. Okay, well that means that you were in the same class as Momoko. Where now Ringo starts to press on questions. Hey, I never met my big sister, right? I've been trying to be her for so very long, but I never really even knew what she was like, other than Tabuki's account, I guess. So she's looking for more information here. As she does this, these kind of torches around the bath start to light up, right? This is like the stars aligning for Yuri's plan to start to go into action, that fire being lit within her, if you know what I mean, for some action tonight. And yeah, when you start to describe Momoko as like the one piece of vegetation in the desert, or the shining light in the darkness, or something like that, you start to put together that your first love was actually Momoko, right? And you hold a very, very high opinion of her. And yes, as Yuri starts waxing lyrical more and more about Momoko, moving closer and closer to Ringo in the pool as well. Even noting here that Ringo has the same scent as Momoko, right? Potentially you could be my little replacement for her. At that same time as she's sniffing around, that fire lighting up all the same. Oh my god. So this may be a bit of a stretch, but I see the ping pong scene here. Remember the badminton scene from Utena? Similar vibes, just the kind of constant kind of rhythm of the sport that they're doing through the dialogue, kind of passing the sentiment back and forth between themselves. But there's also a rhythm to it, a faster rhythm, almost like a heartbeat picking up as well, which probably explains this kind of act that Yuri does during this episode as well, now that I think about it. Also, this fucking Pingu group is just everywhere. They're the biggest conglomerate in the world, Jesus. Yuri here plays coy about her actual feelings for Tabuki as well, right? She says that she loves him, then she says that she's kidding. She says that it's just a marriage of convenience, a marriage for show. Well, no, that's just a lie as well. Actually, we're both bound by the Wheel of Fate. And again, we're so much associating that Wheel of Fate. I think Himari said it when she had the headdress on, so that associates it with Momoko too. And again, that being that exact moment where you beat her in ping pong as well and start to enact part of your plan. Drop in this little drug in the collar there. Again, taking on a little bit more of a creepy tone here when you start to say that every little thing she does reminds you of Momoko, the way you touch your hair and the way that you look me in the eyes and all this other stuff. It just kind of makes me little bit icky. And then, yeah, narrowing the eyes here is Yuri as you start to drink more and more of the drink, knowing what she's going to do here in a moment. Love this shot here, not showing the faces, instead showing the red rope behind my camera there. Hey, do you still want to become Momoko? Because I could still make you become Momoko in body and soul. And again, as I've noted previously, the red rope here, the red thread even being very important in that regard, this destined to match up. So this is obviously terrible, but in the moment I said it's hard to feel bad for Ringo as well, considering she's like drugged people on 4 to 5 other occasions. So I just wish the cast of the show would stop drugging each other and trying to bone them. I think that would be great. And yeah, then we get a little bit risque. Yuri takes her to bed, obviously is going to have her way with her after we tie her up. I guess talks to her certain proclivities as well. But in the dialogue, Yuri's talking about, hey, nobody who saw the real me accepted me, right? You were the only person that ever does that. In essence, she's still just searching for connection. That's all that she's searching for. True connection where I can be myself. In its weird own way, it's this internalization of the same belief that the father had, right? Like, beauty is the only thing that matters. If she's the only one that truly thinks I'm beautiful and then she went away, of course that's going to send me kind of loopy. Comes from a low kind of level of self-esteem in general, probably again courtesy of the father. We can kind of see the effects playing out here. And again, it's this kind of cycle of abuse kind of idea as well, in the same way that dad was an adult figure abusing me physically. Also implied maybe something else as well, but we'll get to it. I'm going to then go forth and be very violent with somebody younger than me when I'm an adult as well, right? You may think you're justified within this, based on your weird perception of everything, but you're just as bad as your father when you do actions like this. This obsession with kind of true beauty in all of this, and that being the only thing that matters. Again, you may say that you got over it in the wake of Momoko, but you still clearly internalize very similar beliefs. Living in denial here that Momoko still isn't dead, that I can find a way to get Momoko again. Everything here is as it was written in Momoko's diary. I'm still kind of following that same stuff, still kind of bound by whatever happened to her. And again, this is the connection I wanted to make as well. In the same way that Shauma is bound by the events of the past and bound by what his family did back in the day, many other characters in the show are still bound by very similar things as it pertains to Momoko, right? Nothing will be right unless I have her, unless I return to her and do all this kind of side of it. And yeah, finally that reveal as well that Yuri was the rider in the night that stole the other half of the diary. I don't know what any of this is about though. I know you'll hate me when you see the real me, so I'll give you a body that can't survive without me, in turning you into Momoko. What? I don't know what any of that means, but sure. Anyway, that was the Princess of Liars, pretty clearly Yuri there, again, connecting in with the kind of acting thing of it all, as well as the general deception in the show up to this point of her being a very different character than she actually was. She was hiding a lot of this trauma. I think that's a very apt title. Into the next episode now, and in this one we have a large focus on Yuri's backstory and the chisel stuff. So, hooray, chiseling. Okay, so the chisel... I'll just talk about it now. The chisel's twofold. Obviously, he's an artist. He's a statue artist. He's chiseling this art out of stone to kind of attain this momentary point in time where this figure is beautiful. In that way, he wants to attain eternity in doing so, blah, 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 eternal youth, blah, 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 staying the same forever. I think we justify in this episode, he says that his wife became ugly after giving birth to child, so I'd rather my wife stay beautiful forever. therefore chisel, therefore we became separated, therefore there's this kind of shattering on the photograph, which implies that he maybe did things to her as well, which is no good. Clearly just like not a good guy. So when we see the chiseling later on, and Yuri's kind of on the table, and she's scantily clad, and she has injuries afterwards, I'm imagining this is both physical and potentially sexual abuse. In doing so, trying to mold her into this person that will stay the same forever, even emotional abuse to that level as well. I want to emotionally abuse you so that I'm even this only person that's important to you as well. I think that that's a level to it that we need to consider too. And again, this starts very early in the episode, this kind of rhythmic chiseling, very similar to almost the rhythmic ping pong playing from the previous episode as well. Just this kind of harsh drilling noise interrupting everything that probably constantly plays in Yuri's head because she's been abused. That's no good. I also love the reuse of this shot throughout the episode. A lot of the episode is framing the father here and the statue in the background. That reminds me of Utena and the kind of tower, I guess you would say, and it being kind of phallic too, now that I think about it. Again, it's very similar conceptually to this really large statue of David that's outside. It's through this almost prison window that we see through it, Dad always blocking the way, this figure almost overshadowing him, this kind of very classic looking masculine figure, piece of art, kind of feel all of it. I don't quite know how to put it into words, but Dad feels really pretentious, like he's looking back to the past and these sculptures of the past, and that's the only art that it ever really endures, and wanting to maybe replicate some of that stuff. Again, looking back so far in the past in kind of search of this kind of eternity concept too. The reason I bring up the Tower in Utena as well is this chisel itself is very phallic too. So again, when I'm the one protecting you from the outside world, standing in the way of you, holding my little chisel in my little hand with big statue of David in the background, it seems like this is this situation that Yuri cannot escape from. This is her own personal hell. Even again, some of this almost brutalist architecture blocking the way. Just kind of very, very much feels like a prison. I'll never be free as long as that tower stands. That tower being the Tower of David, that tower being the chisel, and that tower being my father himself. Now, new opening here as well. I'm not sure I have much to say visually. Very, very similar visually. If I see a particular moment that's important, maybe I'll shout it out. But let's do lyrics first and foremost. The boys and the girls form a ring, extended hands cut down through the air. The imaginary and the real can never mingle. What? Okay. The merry-go-round twirls into the air as the curtain of war is torn open. Very, very revolutionary, very, very circly, of course. The holy night for divulging secrets, my window opens at night and a mysterious voice beckons. Sanatoshi? Sure, maybe. A crimson curtain conceals the smile. Boys come back to me. I ended up getting on the Midnight Express. Oh my god. Take me away to Neverland. Steal away everything I have. I don't care if you talk about me behind my back, I'll just run away at full speed. Do as you please. And then that same motif from the start. Destiny begins to turn, being that kind of last thing instead of the other thing. Okay. And again, as I remarked, very similar visual-wise, of course, if it wants to behave. Just kind of a lot of the characters contrasted against a white background. Falling through the air a lot. Specifically, Himari here doing a spin, doing a twirl, talking to that kind of wheel concept, maybe. Again, flanked by both of the robot bears, which represent the parents, I think. Both of the boys trying to attain connection. Kamba kind of standing out by himself, looking down. Rose petals flying through the air, but those rose petals are little penguin logos. It feels like him against the world a lot in this shot, I think. Shauma similarly, but on a different angle. Again, kind of looking outwards, looking towards other people. Very different body language-wise as well, I think. The flower petals here for Natsume being swapped for these kind of, like shot put balls, not shot put, slingshot balls. That's what I was talking about. Yuri sitting on the edge of the diary here, gold confetti falling down, and it seems like various brand logos in the background, maybe talking to a level of glitz and glamour. Small shot here of Tabuki kissing a young Momika's shoe, which I think's interesting. We see the diary falling through here, which Ringo's holding on to, kind of closing her eyes. She's unsure about what's going on there. Again, I think that's confirmation that this figure here, which we do see this episode, is in fact Momika. That was the figure that Sanatoshi was following around the library that one time. Again, all kind of falling into place there. One interesting thing here is we see, and we saw this in the first opening as well, Ringo starts to almost set a light here on fire. And again, like, we've associated a lot with bird-like concepts, so maybe a phoenix, maybe rebirth, the rebirth of Momoko, maybe. But the other thing is, hey, when Momoko made these kind of changes of fate in this episode, she kind of blew up and caught a light. So maybe a similar thing is happening here for Momoko, we'll see. At that same time in the opening as well, highlighting this 95, which is obviously referencing what happened in 95, both in universe and out of universe. So again, like I was theorizing, potentially Momoko wasn't a victim per se of the terrorism. Potentially she was doing shit. She was changing stuff with her power and went too far and killed herself in the process. Again, that's a large theory that I have at the moment. We'll see. Quick scene of the child broiler there as well, just in case we forgot. We must remember that this is a giant fan rotating in a circle now as well. I'm seeing circles everywhere. Much like the opening is talking about in the lyrics right now as well, we have our three main characters running away in various directions too. I think it's worth noting that Kamba is running in kind of a diagonal, where these two are kind of running in a bit more of a straight line, almost kind of parallel to each other, which talks to kind of the separation of Kamba's story from the other two, I think, and the larger narrative. You've got your thing going on with Natsume over here, who's that penguin, where these two seem a little bit more connected to the Momoko side. You're connected by proxy, but yeah, I don't know. It's a weird separation for Kamba, and has been for most of the story. It seems like he's pretty different from the rest. Again, pretty obviously Sanetoshi bad guy. I'm just trying to see where all that kind of comes together for me. I had my discussion there before. I'm still unsure what his whole shtick even is. Much like I theorized in the past, it does seem like there is a conflict between God Himari and Sanetoshi. Like, this shot implies that they're in opposition, I think. Like, kind of there to there to there to there. Like, that implies that they're not on good terms, I don't think. And yeah, curious about this last shot of the opening as well, where Himari is not present. Instead, it's an apple and her plush doll. May speak to a bad end for Himari. Very similar to the end of Utena's opening. Spoilers for Utena, I guess. Very vague spoilers. Anshi and Utena don't end up together in the end. Kind of. In the end of the TV anime. Now, I put things together very quickly here. We see these two in kind of bathhouse attire. And, yeah, hot springs type shit. They're clearly just in the next room over. I think that's just objectively funny. They're also playing this weird game, this kind of Leaning Tower of Pisa type game, whereby a tower will fall down. If we consider this in combination with the rest of the episode, a tower does collapse by the very end as well. That collapsing tower is so very important to the motivations of Yuri and beyond. I just think that's all very clever. And yeah, as it stands right now, you're just not too... You don't care about the whole thing very much. You don't care about the game. You're just kind of trying to drown your sorrows. You feel a little bit guilty about what you said to Ringo last episode. I won't bore you by going through this opening sequence so very much, but essentially it's a really fun game where the audience knows that they're next door, but Shawmere's unaware, and when he becomes aware, running in and doing that whole shebang. I think, yeah, very, very funny, very rom-com-y, kind of right back to those first few episodes of the show, right? Really kind of balancing this comedic stuff with the more serious stuff this episode in a pretty good way. Shawmere got a voice message from Ringo that basically said that she was about to get all messed up, and then didn't really allude to anything else beyond that. Now, if I said that I was going to mess somebody up, that would imply that I was going to beat them up, or, you know. So, again, he's well within his rights to be very confused, obviously resulting in Shawmere calling the number and seeing what the hell's even going on, before getting a breathy Ringo on the other side, clearly kind of dazed and out of it based on the whole drug type idea. I'm off to a world that a child like you could never comprehend. Oh, it's like Utena never ended. Oh my god. I'm about to experience things you can't even imagine. I'm about to get turned inside out from interesting places. That's pretty explicit. I'm gonna say that's pretty explicit. And yeah, I do really like fucking... Yuri's so strange. Why is she letting Ringo even make this phone call? Like, why? What's the purpose? Like, I don't know, man. It's just kind of funny. I guess she doesn't know that Shawmere's next door. But yeah, so that's kind of a coincidence on that kind of behalf. Another fantastic visual here, as kind of Shawma's very confused as to where Ringo even is. We have a frog finding the bug first. Instead of me being able to spray the bug, Frog's got him first and foremost. This could even be Mama Frog or something. Oh my god. That preys upon 16-year-old girls or something. Specifically here, the bug metaphor linking into the cocoon stuff that we're saying here. She's about to go through her own form of metamorphosis through being tied up and abused, essentially. I do think there's part of Ringo subconsciously as well that's seeing this as a bit of revenge on Shawma for his words earlier that day. Like, hey, I'm trying to let him have it and let him know what he's missing and all that kind of stuff, not thinking that he's literally next door and being kind of dazed in the process as well, so not really sure of what she's saying, but again, kind of wants to G him up. That's maybe part of how explicit we get with the dialogue here. Great use of the best friend character here to confirm that what's happening on the phone is happening next door. Broadly comedic, great rule of threes, just good gear, good concept. Leading Shawma to learn that they're actually just next door and walking right in on them. Oh my god, seeing the two of them butt-ass naked. Who says that women need men to find pleasure? Ringo's you-know-what is mine. Ringo's pussy is mine? Oh my god. And then he trips on a bottle and dies, because the penguin was drinking a bunch of fucking beers or something. So now Yuri's in a room and the two of them are like, literally both unconscious on her floor. So that's fun. Did he just like fall and get knocked down on the floor? He's so lame. That's so funny. I wanted to shout this out as well. Yuri says, "Oh, to be young again, the knight in shining armor to the princess's rescue." So again, we frame this with the rest of the show, right? Who's had these kind of constant fantasies in her head about knights and princesses and so forth? That would be Ringo, right? To be young again, associating such concepts and such fantasy with adolescence. Again, we're taking from the Utena playbook there a lot, I think. But I think there's a twinge of jealousy here, and that's what ultimately spurs her into going into the flashback. This is the both of you, this is the two of you's first love, right? And that you'll do anything for each other and rush in and save the day and do all this kind of stuff. It may look kind of pathetic and meek to me now as an adult, but I'm nostalgic for such a time too, which gets her reminiscing and frames the flashback. I think that's what's going on. If only I had that kind of passion, if only I had the desire to be wanted by others, the naivete to demand others to see me as who I am. So yeah, again, broadly jealous of that first love and the purity of that love that the two have. Again, having a perspective on it that those kids don't have in the moment, right? You two are clearly in love with each other. Again, Yuri being the adult there, the one that can see through it all. Yuri, the room where that tower can be seen, the ugly duckling play, I love Daddy because he's an artist, I'm willing to do anything for him. That's a pretty succinct summary of this entire segment, I guess you could say. Now, the helicopter's weird. I thought the helicopter was placing us at a point in time whereby it was the same day that Momika died. That is not the case. We're using this helicopter shot again just for shits and gigs. I guess you could say that it's a rotation going on. Bit of that Wheel of Fate concept. So, I'm going to say that there isn't actually a giant, and I mean fucking giant, Tower of David statue in Tokyo in whatever year that would have been. 94, let's say. I'm going to say that that doesn't exist. I'm going to say that that didn't happen. Instead, this is what Tokiko's view of a big tower that Dad admired would have been, right? Again, based on Dad's dialogue here, we can say that he's largely pretty... He's looking for validation from the same sex a lot and doesn't really consider women as much. So I think there's a masculine side to it too, but as I've gone into, there's also the eternity. This is a piece of art that has stood the test of time. This is a building. It's become part of the culture. It's this kind of stepping stone by which we build everything else on top of. I want that kind of validation in my own life and that kind of importance. If that isn't the drive of an artist, then what is? So again, to summarize, tower equals Dad. Tower equals everything that Dad represents as well and everything that he wants. So if this tower were to fall, Dad would fall as well. Now we get into the chisel part. So he's a sculptor. He sculpts statues and he's had many prizes for it. All of his kind of achievements and trophies on the wall over here. So yeah, Yuri used to admire Dad. He was an artist. He knew what he was talking about. He probably spoke a good game about himself. He was my main kind of breadwinner, the main person in my life. Of course I'm going to respect him for that kind of stuff and hold his opinion in high regard. Do you like beautiful things? Yes. Do you like your dad? Because Dad makes beautiful things, right? Of course I do. So makes beautiful things is interesting in that regard, right? Because yes, he makes pieces of art, but he's also made a child. Not solely him, but two people did. He had a say in the matter. But he doesn't consider Yuri beautiful unless he can sculpt her, unless he can change her, unless he can bend her to his will. And again, framing, I can only love things that are beautiful. So if you don't do what I say, because I'm the arbiter of what's beautiful and what's not, then you will never be loved by me. And that's what he's kind of holding ransom here, and that's why she's so, again, despite even being young and all that kind of stuff that comes with it, that's why he has this power over her, because he's holding back love, and that's the one thing that she wants. We've seen the rest of the show, right? We've seen what's driving her. Again, here, deeming to call her ugly. Hey, Yuri, you're ugly. At that same point, getting the church bells, getting the birds flying away, this similar motif we've seen associated with Momoka in the past, too. The ugly are loved by nobody. Just look at your mother. Your mother became uglier by the minute after she gave birth to you, to the point where it seems like we're implying that he cut her out of his life by any means necessary. If he's shattering photos of her, we can't imagine what he did to the actual her as well. Mum was ugly and stupid. She couldn't comprehend my art. Ugly children are loved by nobody. And again, the dad's obviously projecting here, right? So let's backfill a little bit. I think, okay, so loving marriage, dad marries mum, all good, they have child. Dad, because he's a cunt, becomes slowly disillusioned with the fact that women age, because he's a sculptor, and these women don't age because they're fucking made of rocks and minerals, not like a real person. He becomes disillusioned with that, falls out of love with the mother retaliates, says that the art's dumb and all that kind of stuff. He retaliates violently, and again, nobody ever proves him incorrect. He just continues to be a pure ego freak about the whole thing, but still ultimately holds her opinion so very dear, right? Because now he's projecting all of his hatred for her for aging and doing what she did and retaliating and whatever else, right? He projects all of that onto the daughter that reminds me so much of her, right? That has that same kind of face, that same image. And again, the only way I can keep your love, the only way I can keep you indebted to me, the only way I can sculpt you in my perfect image is to hurt you, is to emotionally manipulate you, is to do other things potentially as well. It's just all not great. So again, I can carve you into this great piece of art like Michelangelo did with the great statue of David. You are going to be my piece of art, blah, 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 blah. Then it makes sense when that statue of David outside is shattered, that whole idea of you needing to be that statue of David for dad is shattered as well, and you are set free. Now again, I don't know if I'm the one that has my head in the gutter here, but whenever he's like, I'm going to now love you, Yuri, and he's holding onto his fucking chisel like he is, and he's all touchy-feely with her and stuff, I can't help but feel that there's a sexual component to it. I don't know if that's off base, I don't know, but yeah, Dad's not a good guy, let's say that. So then again, time seems to slow down more and more and more, the chiseling sound effect breaking through all of that. The chiseling is now the abuse, right? Whenever we hear that chiseling, she's reminded of what happened in the past. Proof's in the pudding, of course, when we see Yuri at school the next day and she's got a broken arm. That could only come as a result of abuse, you would have thought. The result of chiseling. So then we meet Momoka, as we know they were in the same class, and yeah, they basically drew each other's portrait, right? So we did this in Utena, obviously, in Adolescence of Utena. We kind of drew portraits of each other and so forth, and it was all very gay and stuff. A couple of notes here that I like. You're clearly staring at your portrait of her, and you're staring at your portrait of her. That's clearly like some connection there that we're having with each other, almost staring to each other's eyes through each other's perception. I think that's pretty cool. Both of these were also award winners. I've been recognized for my art based on this. Again, this is associating myself with these great artists that I hold in high esteem, much like my father that had a similar medal on the wall there before. Just thought I'll jump in here with another detail after the fact as well. It's worth noting that the art that is being awarded and praised and all that kind of stuff isn't perfect. It's clearly two portraits made by two elementary school students, right? The proportions aren't entirely correct over here. This one's eyes are way bigger. This one's, you know, it's not the same level of art and perfection in art that is demanded from the father. However, it is still being praised by Momoka, right? It's not perfect, but it's still worthy of being loved. right? Isn't that not a microcosm of what Yuri's looking for in this entire kind of section of the story, right? Kind of needing to attain perfection and eternity to be worthy of being loved in the first place. Momoko was the one that kind of disproved that and proved that I was worthy of love regardless. Even if I was ugly per se at the moment, doesn't mean I'll be ugly in perpetuity. There is no need for me to become beautiful, for I am already beautiful in the eyes of Momoko. Right? Isn't that something really cool there? I like all that stuff. And I'm not quite sure how to articulate it, but Dad just has the exact opposite kind of ethos of this when it comes to art. It's all about perfection and all about kind of emulating the greats and kind of classical worship and patriarchal values and all this kind of stuff that just isn't present in this kind of stuff here. And I think that's worthy of contrast, right? And again, I contrast Statue of David and Tokyo Tower in that regard a little bit later as well. Yeah, there's lots of cool stuff here. Lots and lots of cool stuff. I think I talked about this episode for a long time, but during editing this, I'm finding loads more stuff. Even again, you've probably seen all the text on screen. I'm kind of going crazy. This might be one of my new favorite episodes, I think. So again, this seems all hunky-dory. You two are like best buds because of this. You guys won a prize together. It kind of almost reminds me of some of that Triple H stuff from Himari's flashback. Like, just good friends back in the day at elementary school. This is where we start to invoke the ugly duckling and all of it. We kind of walk home with Momoko briefly, where she takes some time to feed the ducks, feed the swans. We kind of get talking about the ugly duckling side of it. Yuri remarks that she doesn't like the ducks. It reminds her of the ugly duckling, a story that she despises. She doesn't like the moral of that story, right? She believes it to be lies, right? How can an ugly duckling possibly become a beautiful swan overnight? Now, it's fantasy. It's meant to demonstrate a concept more than being a real thing that can happen. Because again, ducklings don't turn into swans. That's not how they work. Sorry to burst your bubble. And again, you just got to think more conceptually, right? What made that ugly duckling into that swan, right? It was showing their true colors. It was seeing behind the ugliness or whatever else, right? They were more than met the eyes, right? There was more behind them, and we couldn't see that at the time. We were blinded by our aesthetic beauty of things and didn't dig any deeper. It's more conceptual than just a literal transformation, I think, which is ironic considering you're an artist's daughter, an artist that would, understand said concepts. I think Dad isn't even a great artist. He just sucks. And Momoko destroys Yuri with facts and logic here. Yuri continues to say that ugly people should work hard to become beautiful, because if you're not, then what are you even doing? Beauty's the only thing that matters in this world. Momoko says, by whose metric? Who's ugly? What does ugly even mean, right? I saw a baby swan at the zoo there before. I never thought it was ugly. Again, this kind of, this childlike innocence to it, I think, which is really cool. Just, reminds me a lot of Himari as well, now that I think about it. Like, just this kind of like, oh, yeah, I never really considered that. I reject your hypothesis, I guess. Like, I never thought that way in such a very innocent and pure way, I think. You could almost read into this as Momoko's view of fate, right? There's nothing ugly in this world. I think everything's beautiful, because if God made it, right, then why would he make something that's dirty and ugly? So again, you can apply the same concept to fate. If God is responsible for fate, why would he ever let things that are bad happen? Right? Look on the bright side of life, all that kind of stuff, right? And again, when you come to the understanding that she has the power to control fate as well, it's easy to see why she could change things and have this perspective, I guess. Very cute here as she's running away. She says, call me Yuri as well. I think earlier in the scene, you said, call me Momoko. They're getting slowly closer and closer. Your kind of worldview is being shattered by her words. Back over to Dad in front of the statue, whereby he chastises her for making a friend. You can't trust her. She's clearly only involving herself with you to get XYZ. Attach this to your view of women who are only attached to you to get to XYZ. He just screams misogynist to me, just screams it, thinking that he got tricked by a nice girl into marrying her, and now he's dealing with all the stuff that comes with that, and blah, 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 blah. This guy stinks. I hate this guy. Incel coded too? He's kind of incel coded, no? Despite having a kid, he's an incel. And yeah, as he says these words, we get the kind of rogues gallery of all the different chisels that he uses. These are the violent tools by which he controls Yuri. The words he's using and the tools themselves. They're strangers just like Mama. I only have you. You only have me. In other words, I'm the only person who can truly love you, fucking with her head so very much. And again, as I've gone into with the events of the previous episode, this is the reason why Yuri's as abusive as she is, right? She learnt it from the best. So again, she's like very naked and like doesn't seem chuffed about the whole thing, and then gets more and more injuries. I don't know, man. We see the leg fall off the statue there, right there, and then her leg's injured the next time she goes to school, as we can see down here. So yeah, Momoko tries to greet Yuri. Yuri gives her the cold shoulder. And yeah, Momoko notices another wound on her leg. It's implied that there's somewhat of a time skip here as well, because she's got another wound on her face. Momoko called Yuri out her to tell her something, essentially, right? I wanted to get you to trust me. Yuri's still pretty steadfast on the whole you only love me because you're trying to use me or something. Anyway, that doesn't seem to be the case from Momoko's perspective. Then yeah, put something on the line here to prove it, right? Prove that I'm, you know, talking the real talk here. I can show you my secret. Her secret is that she can transfer another fate by chanting a spell from this diary and praying to God. Now, what does this mean? Only time will tell. For right now, she can change the future, essentially, right? I can transfer onto another fate, just like making a transfer on the subway. Obviously, link that to all the thematic stuff in the show, pretty evidently, along with where they're sitting even now. Kind of the background there is a lot of kind of lines on the ground and that kind of shit. Just makes sense. The example that she uses, of course, is saving the school rabbit, which could link into the rabbit stuff in the show as well with Sanetoshi. I guess we'll see later on. But the problem here is that Yuri never saw the other side. She never saw the rabbit that was unwell and sick and dying, right? She only saw the healthy rabbit. So that doesn't work as a point to convince her. So nobody remembers these changes, but my body remembers. So here's my thing. I think after learning about this, Momoko can make you woke, per se. Like, where you can now see this kind of shit. It's kind of like what Tabuki was talking about back in the day, about kind of between kind of learning to ride a bike and not knowing how to ride a bike. You just see the world in a different way now. You can see what she has changed. You can see what she has altered if she kind of lets you in on the secret. That's why Yuri is cognizant of the tower coming down, right? And that's why nobody else in the entire world would remember that tower even being there. Like, do you see what I'm saying? This has huge ramifications. This means that the world could have been a different way had Momoko not did what she did on the train in 95. That's what I'm saying, right? Because the whole world forgets, then she could have did whatever, and we as the audience just have no clue. She could have did a very similar thing that she did for Yuri back here in the day, but we not be aware of it because we're not woked, right? It seems to work on a scale as well. If she helped the bunny rabbit, it hurt her finger. She helps Yuri take down the tower. Her body catches a light with flames and that kind of thing. If something happened in 95, which she needed to fix, then she died, then it must have been pretty damn big. So we're obviously connecting the bunny rabbit here in this scene with Yuri as well. That's kind of this cute little animal in a cage at the moment being trapped, much like, again, Yuri is, and is soon to die. If I don't do something, then you will die. And Momoko's saying that she wouldn't mind getting another bandage if it was for you. And here's where we say it. That tower there is my daddy. You can't change anything. He's always watching me. That's another thing that I failed to consider about the tower, is that it's so overbearing that you can't escape it. It's constantly kind of in the skyline watching you, Big Brother style, right? Of course you would internalize these concepts if you never had a break from them. Yeah, this helicopter's definitely some Wheel of Fate type shit, right? Because we see it rotate, and then Momoko's like, so take out the tower, right? Yeah, interesting. So this is where I feel like I'm going kind of crazy, because again, this is the same helicopter stuff that's in episode 12, right? This is when Tabuki's doing his thing, right? And finding out about what happened. If we're associating this helicopter spinning and the kind of propeller there spinning around, and that being linked in with whatever fate stuff that Momoko can do with the diary, then does that not mean that she used this during this day on the day that she died on March, whatever it was, in 95. Like, do you see the correlation? If in Yuri's flashback, we see helicopter spinning and then tower coming down, right? Then we can maybe make the inference that whenever we visually see this helicopter spinning, this is when Momika is then using her powers as well. I feel like this is bordering on crack theory, but I like to think that Momika did use her power on this day for a reason that is not known to us right now. That is my broad theory at the moment. I think that's, and it's almost like this terrorism stuff is almost a cover-up. We'll maybe find out a little bit more about this as we continue with the show, potentially talking to Momika through the headdress on Himari, something to that effect. The implication here is that Dad's about to kill fucking Yuri tonight as well. Everything ends tonight. That's what Dad said. If I have to live without ever being loved, I would rather die than become a swan. Which is kind of crazy thing to say. And then, yeah, we move from there and we move out of the flashback, I think. Oh, yeah, Dad needs to threaten abuse one more time. He got this this chisel from Firenze, which I think is like Florence, right? Anyway, he's a tool because he's like, oh, isn't the Roman fucking Empire fucking awesome? Isn't the artistic traditions of Europe so fucking cool? I fucking froth that shit. Let me get this special chisel that probably cost me half my fucking wage to abuse my daughter with. This guy's like top tier knob. I fucking hate him. So on top of him being like a abuser, he's also just pretentious and a bit of a fucking twat, which I think is a worse crime, honestly. So yes, out of the flashback now and over with Himari, who notices that both members of Double H have these scarves on. They look very similar to the scarves that she made. Of course, she can't believe her eyes. She's like doing these ones. She's like, what? I can't believe it. Shoutouts to the penguin like wearing the hair too. I just think that's a great touch. Like, we specifically reference idol culture in another cutaway here in a moment as well. I just think this is very cute. But the placement of the scene is very important. So it's after Momika has framed it so that we can change the world certain ways and change reality to our kind of to bend reality to our whim, right? At that same point, Sanetoshi is showing that he can do the same thing, that he has that same level of power, that he can do world-shattering things that don't make a whole lot of sense at the kind of flick of his fingers. He shows that power in the same way that Momika shows her power with the statue here in a moment. Specifically, our precious friend knitted these for us as well. Clearly it's going to impact her, clearly. Himari confronts Sanetoshi about this, and he plays coy about the whole thing a little bit. Sanetoshi is amazing. I didn't tell him anything, but the doctor sent the scarves to Hibari and Hikari for me. Now this is interesting. I think penguin number 1 is Kamba's penguin, and of course, like, I'm a big fan of the idol version of Himari. Like, I'm cheering for her in a crowd, trying to, you know, push her on and so forth. But at that same point, we also have Himari mounting a lot of praise onto Sanetoshi. Now again, we saw that kind of Bride of Fate scene there before. Does Sanetoshi have ulterior motives as it pertains to Himari? Again, Himari as it stands right now is the closest thing that he has to Momika, who is ultimately who he wanted. Is that going to run counter to what Kamba wants? Only time will tell. I think there's a rivalry forming between Sanetoshi and Kamba for Himari. Even in some of the framing here, Kamba just looking broadly concerned about the whole thing, kind of out of the conversation, standing at kind of the edge of it, you know? Sanetoshi picks up on the fact that Kamba may be kind of insecure about this and presses on the idea of family and all of that, saying that it may be a curse. Just how many children suffer because they're bound to family? Well, think about the rest of the episode. Yuri most certainly. Ringo, yeah, for sure. The 3 Takakura siblings, most certainly as well. Like Sanetoshi here calling out the concept of family. You only love them because they're your family, right? Now, read between the lines here. I think this is Sanetoshi trying to call Kamba off of Himari in a way, right? Why are you concerning yourself with her so very much? Would you do the same thing if she wasn't family? I think that's what he's trying to say here, right? Is family a shackle in this regard, and the only reason why you care about her is because you've been told to? Again, think back to the flashbacks, think back to saving her from the typhoon, saving her, getting her to hospital, all that kind of stuff. That was only because of your family connection. disregard all of that other stuff and look at things a little bit more objectively. And again, like associating parent and child as that relationship there is very important, as both Shawma and Kamba have been largely associated with the parents of Himari as well. They're the kind of parental figures of this family unit as it stands right now. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be easier on you if they weren't your family? At that same point, we see a daughter separated from a father, looking very similar to Ringo as well. And yeah, Kamba here saying that the thought never crossed his mind to even consider such a thing. Oh yeah, now the Natsume bullshit happens, so, like, okay, Yuri's actions are weird because she was all gung-ho about abusing them, then she just fucking lays them down in bed and it's all well and good. Maybe she just gets a hold of herself, I guess, upon reconsidering her past actions. She thinks that abusing the kids probably isn't okay. Let's say it's a change of heart, and again, at that point, it turns out that Natsume has infiltrated as a kind of patron of the establishment, much like how she was a nurse in a previous episode. I like how that she's got this kind of spy thing going on. I think it's cool. And again, plays coy about it initially, but then says, give me the fucking diary, pretty much, right? Action scene ensues. Don't get me started about whatever the fuck that banana was. Like, please explain the banana. What is this? Why is this in the show? So I said that this didn't make sense because how are you making outside as dark as it is? I think it's on a basis of these torches, right? We put the torches out, which again, in a previous episode, were associated with your passion. We snuff that out. We snuff your passion lower and lower. Do you still have the wherewithal to protect the diary in the way you do? There's also the part where you lose your towel and the diary comes out. That could be associated with kind of exposing yourself and so forth. Don't want to expose your body where those scars may be. And that be the ultimate thing that kind of throws you off. I do like how we're bringing the ping pong thing back as well, kind of reflecting these balls back at her and that kind of side of it. Just a really fantastic, elaborate sequence, fantastically creative, even if the whole night vision thing still doesn't make total sense to me. I don't know. As I said, blinded by the light, forced to expose herself, show off those scars that lay beneath, and that's when I get a hold of the diary, and Natsume is able to dive there, escape, do the whole spy shebang. I think that's very cool. Again, I did my research properly. I knew I would have to like swim to get away from this location. I just think that all links together fantastically well. As the episode is ending here, we get a lot of the wrap up here during the ED as well, I should say, for the flashback itself. We have Shawma who wakes up in the room and finds an unconscious Ringo, unsure as to what happens. One of the first things that Yuri says is that, hey, why don't you go and abuse her? Again, this large association, maybe with the male figures in her life, with abuse as well, before saying that she's just kidding and mentioning that Natsume tried to steal the diary. However, she was keeping it safe in her safe, which, as I said previously, I really liked that shot of the safe in episode 14 and setting that up. Set up and payoff, it's not that hard. Again, Yuri continues to covet the diary so very much, and we pop into the flashback for the final time. Yuri, the room where that tower can be seen, the ugly duckling play, final act, I saw her love through the window, it was a fainted encounter, I was forgiven for my sins. Very God-pilled here in the very end too. So we briefly see Momoko self-immolate there. Yuri is like naked, butt-ass naked, walks over to the window, and then sees that the tower has changed. She puts on some clothes and runs to the scene very quickly. The episode's called The Savior as well, which again links into both of our storylines, Momoko being the savior of Yuri here in this time, the savior of the world per se, and Shawma being the savior of Ringo in this scene, in this episode, in a bit of a weird way as well. Considering I think his actions here is ultimately what convinced Yuri not to go through with what she was going to go through with. It reminded her of a pure childhood love, which got her reminiscing, which made her not want to enact what she was about to enact. So this is all very interesting. The Tower of Tokyo used to be a statue of David, but was transformed into the Tower of Tokyo upon Momoko making her little spell and self-immolating and doing all that kind of stuff. Cool. Let's talk about a number of concepts here. Let's talk about the first one. This is a switch from a male-dominated thing to potentially a female-dominated thing, right? Statue of David, big old penis there on display, big old masculine male muscly figure. Dad sees that and he feels some type of way. All very good. Now the Tower of Tokyo, arguably very phallic as well, but turn that frown upside down and you get a big old V. Now what is a V? I'm going to let you guys put that one together a little bit more, but yeah, it's definitely a switch in the symbolism, I'll just say that. The other obvious one would be that Tokyo Tower is very much reminiscent of the Eiffel Tower, right? So we're switching a very Roman-centric kind of statue, classic Renaissance art type thing for a little bit more of a different artistic movement in a different city. Paris, the city of love, all that kind of stuff. A little bit more romantic than the outward implications of a Statue of David, I guess. There's a reason why you see terrible people on Twitter and they have Statue of Davids as their fucking profile pictures. That's all I'll try to say. That's all I'm saying there. So again, now every time that she's looked up at that tower at any point in the series, she was thinking about Momoka's sacrifice for her and the love that they share. I'd love if somebody could expand upon that as well. Maybe there's something in Tokyo Tower's history that could link into that as well. That's pretty cool. But yeah, just a fascinating concept, kind of switching reality and switching what that monument is. So essentially, in destroying that statue, we destroyed Dad and everything that Dad stood for, right? So Dad's no longer in the picture because of what we did with the statue too. We changed reality, we changed fate, and you set Yuri free. Doesn't that sound good? And Momoka gets really serious here. Really, really, really serious. And I think this is the first time I noticed it. Let me check something. Who the fuck plays Momoka's voice? Oh no, I think I know who this is. Oh chat, just when I thought the show couldn't get any better, we have one Aki Toyosaki as Momoka Oginome. Let's just Control F K dash on. More, show me Yui. Yeah, there you go, as Yui Hirasawa. Yeah, she is my favorite voice actor, and I only picked it up upon hearing her say "dame" in the way that she does, very kind of throaty with it too, which I like. She is brilliant. Everything that she's in is brilliant. Shoutouts to Aki Toyosaki. She's magnificent. And yeah, I'm just laughing at how much you can hear it on this no. It's so very funny. So apparently Yuri can't read the book. If she reads the book, it'll potentially undo things as well, which makes it weird. Why are you now looking for the book in current day? I don't know. Weird. Maybe they explain this here in a second. So either way, the two are madly in love with each other, which is cool. Momoka disappeared after that incident. Momoka had another transfer, so she transferred another subway line. The scenery of the world then changed. This time, I'll use the diary spells to transfer to another fate, one where Momoka is alive. That's why she's seeking the diary. And yeah, gazing upon Tokyo Tower, thinking of the sacrifices that were made then and there. I love this show. I think it's just swell. I think it's just brilliant. Yeah, what a set of 2 episodes. Again, broadly fucking hilarious, heartfelt, intriguing, out there. It's everything that I want and more. Every single time I watch it, it's so very good. I just love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. It's just cool. It's so cool. It's so cool. All right. Anyway, we're gonna stop glazing. We got to get out of here. I've been recording for 2.5 hours, which is bad. And yeah, please let me know about anything that I potentially missed in that episode that could be pertinent to more discussion next week, because there'll be 2 more episodes. If you want those episodes 1 week early, Patreon is your best bet. Yeah, but I'm going to catch you. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching this week, and Patreon, Discord, all that stuff I normally say. Goodbye. Goodbye for now.